Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the global stage right here at Switch 2025. That was a great session from our friends at Western Australia. Now we're going to just move 5 hours a little bit north to Southeast Asia. Now, our next session is brought to you by the Action Community for Entrepreneurship, also known as ACE.SG. Now, this panel is going to bring together partners from across the region to discuss how startups can spot emerging opportunities, navigate market differences, and take concrete steps to scale. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet our panelists to the stage. First, our moderator, Han Tingzhi, Central Director for Stage 1. James Tan, Managing Partner of Quest Ventures. Kar Sing Ang, Head of Global Innovation Exchange at Malaysian Research Accelerator for Technology and Innovation, also known as MRANT. We have Dr. Kikoku Toku, Managing Director for Leave A Nest Singapore. And last but not least, we've got Poom Tantrapabra, Portfolio Manager for CX Ventures. Ladies and gentlemen, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking time to join our panel, Finding Growth in Southeast Asia, Opportunities for the Startups. So I'm Ting Zhi, your moderator for this session, and I'm happy to have with me an esteemed panelists from different countries. Right. So without further ado, maybe what I will get them to do is just give a quick round of introduction, and to keep things a bit lighter for the first question, a fun fact about the country, the region that you come from. Let's start with the lady. So if you may start with Kasin, please.
Okay, very good morning. Very happy to be here. So my name is Kasin. I'm actually looking after the cross-border partnership between countries. We are bringing the companies going out, and most likely we are the touch point if you are interested into the Malaysian market. So about the fun fact, I was like thinking what kind of fun fact I should talk about my market. Can I talk about my favorite fruit, durian?
Sure.
So I'm not sure anyone in the know what durian is, but it's actually very famous in this part of the world. Do you know in Malaysia we actually have a competition that we compete different varieties of durian in terms of their taste, their aroma, their colors, and their textures. And make a guess. I think this Singaporean should know what is the champion of durian this year, like recently. Anyone have a guess? Musang King, Tekka. So actually, see a Tekka street in Singapore. Is it related?
Oh, I don't think so, but I'm sure durian is also a Singapore favorite.
So the most expensive, the champion of the durian is called Blackthorn. So this Blackthorn, because they become the durian champion, is now so expensive in Singapore and Malaysia. So this is also one of the mini industry that I want to share with the audience here. And durian actually is very hard to plant. It will take a minimum of 6 to 10 years to actually grow for the first fruit for you to actually harvest. So at the same time, if you are looking into you have solution in this space that you can actually keep the durian fresh, that we can ship over to further away from China and also Singapore. That will be a very good opportunity looking into this durian market. So the interesting thing is this is something what we have done, and try to make it for watermelon. I'm sure you most likely won't have that kind of effect, right?
Nice. Food is always top of the mind for Singaporeans. Thanks for starting with that. Maybe let it put a little bit further to Poom from Thailand to share about CX Ventures and introduction.
Hi everyone, my pleasure to be here. My name is Poom. I'm a portfolio manager at CX Ventures. We are a global deep tech venture capital fund based in the US, but we have a root in Thailand. So we invest globally in early stage startup, in pre-seed and seed stage startup who come up with the exponential technology, who solve one of the world's toughest challenge that is going to change the world. So as a portfolio manager, I'm taking care of 35 portfolio companies across the globe, work closely with founders in multiple sectors, trying to deliver value creation, connecting them with corporate and also local partners as a bridge for them to come all the way to Southeast Asia in order to deliver impact. Our mission is to uplift 1% of Southeast Asia GDP while also try to reduce 1% of global carbon emission.
Thank you. Okay, maybe to James, Quest Ventures, looking at both the Singapore and Vietnam market. Yes, introduction, please.
Morning, everyone. Thank you to ACE for the invitation to be on this panel. I'm James Tan, Managing Partner at Quest Ventures. We are early stage venture fund investing in Southeast Asia and Central Asia. Fun fact would be that despite what we generally term as a venture capital winter for this year, we have had 4 exits in the last few months alone. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yes, and Kihoko, please.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kyoko from Liveness, Singapore. From the name, you can guess I'm Japanese, but I grew up here in Southeast Asia. And I was actually educated or trained to become a behavioral biologist. But now I'm here as a managing director of Liveness Singapore, partner of Enterprise Singapore Global Innovation Alliance Program, bringing startup from Japan into Singapore and also bringing Singapore startup and Southeast Asian startup into Japan. So that's the part that we are focusing on, and I hope to share a bit more later. So maybe I will keep the fun stuff to later, and I'll back to you.
Sure. Thanks, Kihoko. And of course, myself, Teng Zhi from ACE Singapore. As has been introduced, I look at the inbound and outbound of startups, particularly under the program called Stage 1. And we have the physical center opening just in the morning. I was afraid I couldn't make it in time for the panel, but yes, here I am. All right. The first question I have for the panel across is what are some of the emerging opportunities, emerging opportunities that you see in your market, be it AI, climate tech, fintech, which are some of those? Maybe we continue in the order that we started just now.
Durian.
I would think that's agriculture.
Okay. Yeah, agriculture is actually pretty big in Malaysia as well. So today, 3 to 4 weeks ago, there was an announcement by our Malaysia government on the budget 2026. Of course, no surprise. I think it's similar to all the countries in South Asia. We wanted to become an AI nation in 2030 as well. So, but today I'm not going to touch about AI. I wanted to touch a little bit on the background industry that supported the development of AI, which is the semiconductor industry. So I just want to give some history about the come about of semiconductor industry in Malaysia. It was started in Penang 1970. So until today, we have about 50 plus years of experience doing the assembly, packaging, as well as for the chips. So in that sense, we are now the 6th largest exporter for chips in that space, in the packaging as well as the assembly. And about, I think 12% of the global chips are actually produced in Malaysia. So I would say that we are pretty matured in the space of doing the fabs, which is the manufacturing, packaging, assembly of chips. We do have good talent in engineering in that space to be leveraged on. So if you are in the space of semiconductor, especially if you are fabless, doing the design, IC design, or R&D, which are looking into a higher end kind of semiconductor supply or complementary solutions, feel free to speak to us. I think my colleague, Maradi Park, as a science park run by the government, is very interested in this space. We are looking for more projects from here as well. So that would be from me. Thanks.
I see. So semiconductor business supporting all the AI needs that's around the world. How about Pom? What do you see in Thailand?
Well, fun fact about Thailand, most of you probably know Thailand for a hub for tourism or food. So, traditionally that has been something that has been a pillar of Thai economy for decades. But so far, after global pandemic and a lot of big hits of economy, it seems like we cannot rely on just tourism anymore. So we have been thinking, what else can be spotlight? And one of the things we have found is that Thailand and Southeast Asia, we have one of the best healthcare service in the world with affordable costs. But the thing is, most of the service that we offer is just service based at the very end tip of the problem. But we don't have those innovation that can help add value for the rest of the economy. And the hospital itself now is it's been flooded with a lot of demand, while with the aging population, higher rate of the diseases, also with already limited resources in healthcare workers, we can no longer run as is. So as CX Ventures, we believe that there's a way to change this by turning Thailand and Southeast Asia into a health innovation sectors hub, which we aim to come up with a new fund, and at the same time also an accelerator to pool all the resources of global healthcare startup to enter Southeast Asia, while we provide not just funding, but we provide mentorship support to the accelerator, and more importantly is the bridge that we have always been offering by bringing them in to Southeast Asia. What's in it for Southeast Asia and Thailand? It's that it will serve as a shortcut that we can learn from global health founders how they actually do things, how they actually get US FDA, and how they actually scale. So that's something we have been looking at as a new S-curve for Thailand and Southeast Asia.
Right. Thank you. So healthcare, Thailand. For James, say between Singapore and Vietnam, what are some of these opportunities?
So when we look at emerging sectors, and bear in mind we are early stage, so we are trying to spot sectors before they become something common that everybody talks about. So when we look at the different sectors, we also got to bear in mind the differences in each country or each city. So what is the strength in Thailand may not necessarily be a strength or what we are looking for in Vietnam. So for Vietnam itself, we are looking at retail, because a retail scene there actually is still emerging. You have companies that have grown tremendously, 10 shops in the last 5 years that have grown now to 120 shops, which seems large from a Singapore context, but if you look at the potential, it still has room to grow to approximately about 2,000, 3,000 shops. So there are potentials like this that we see in Vietnam. And retail tech is just one example. Because we run the Global Innovation Alliance program with Enterprise Singapore, and we run it in batches, so every batch has a thematic focus. The retail tech focus is currently happening right now. And the next focus will be on sports and so on. For Singapore, when we look at it, it's not those above areas. It is on silver economy, on aging, in which there is actually an aging or elderly care exhibition happening next weekend here in Singapore. So there are different areas that we look at depending on the country that we operate in.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay, over to Kihoko. I think probably from not just Japan, but the sectors that Japanese companies see interesting in ASEAN for them as well.
Okay, and then I think what you're looking for, what I'm going to share now may not cover, but let me try. So Livaness is a group of companies with the vision of advancing science and technology for global happiness. So under that vision, we are working with startups, and then of course, identifying what market is available in different parts of the world is important. We do understand. Yet at the same time, we feel sometimes we cannot identify what is going to come next or what is needed by ourselves. With the vision of global happiness, we are looking at life tech nowadays to see how we can provide fulfillingness to human beings. What is now that we are getting, especially for the mature economies, we are starting to have financial satisfaction to a certain extent. We would like to know what can we get as a human being and what kind of value can we bring into the society with technology and understanding of science. So I wouldn't go into a specific topic, but I would say I would like to explore different market together with you, and we can create the market together.
Thank you. I think the message here is really that Southeast Asia, when you look at it, it's easy to call it a region. But when you look at the different countries, actually the focus, the profile of the population, and therefore how it defines the emerging opportunities differs from the different countries as well. Of course, healthcare, wellness, that presents a big opportunity, but that also has different contextual meaning for the different areas as well. And of course, for consumer, for example, big in Vietnam, in Singapore with our population, then that may not be something that we have a lot of activities in that. Right. So in the next question, maybe just we switch up the order a little bit. Maybe we go from the furthest to the nearest. So for Phoom, for Thailand, there are many conglomerates within Thailand, CP Group, Siam Cement Group, etc. And also, you mentioned there's health hospitals, healthcare. How do they work with startups, and what advice would you give to startups in navigating these partnerships with these commercial players or the corporates?
Well, for the past 8 years, we have been working around corporate innovation with over 500 startups across, 500 corporate across Southeast Asia, by connecting them with thousands of startups across the globe. Well, what we have found is that all these conglomerates, they are either family-owned business or a major conglomerate who has been around for many years. With multi-generation of their operation and strategy, it's quite tough for them to actually uplift their growth. So for the past decade, I've been looking around for new S-curve by developing corporate innovation arms. Also, a lot of them have their own corporate venture VC arms, which we have been working with a lot of them by introducing our portfolio company and a startup in our network to discuss and come up with could be joint development or proof of concept that is something new for them with clear synergy. A lot of times they, as a nature of Southeast Asian corporate, they tend to be more risk averse and might not want change so much. So that's how we come in and help them streamline the conversation and also build trust, since most of them have already been our past client or partners. Which for startup from overseas, trust is really important for doing business here. If you gonna just do Zoom call from overseas and trying to get the trust and then close the deal, I wouldn't say it's that easy. So my suggestion would be try to know the market, understand the landscape, the policy, the regulation, and most importantly, try to get to know the corporate who might be your first customers or might be your anchor partner in the region.
Right, thanks. So I guess it's really about spending time, understanding the partner. Yeah, it's the business. The cycle of the business will probably take longer than some who are used to in different markets. When you close deals really quickly, I guess the building trust, actually not just in Thailand, I think in Asia, that's also an important part of business. The good thing about that is also that once the trust is built, it's also not so easy for the next person to come up and have that. So I think there's really two sides to it, Right.
But sometimes it takes too long, right?
I think in different markets they take different lengths as well, right? Yeah. So maybe to stay on a Poom for a while. So after these collaborations happen, what are some of the markets that these Thailand startups would you see them expanding into or going over? They have overseas interest in. What are they looking for in these markets?
Well, I wouldn't say they focus on particular market, but it's more on the solution that they can match with the market. For example, a lot of startup has been expanding to Singapore and um, Malaysia and Vietnam, for example, since I think aging population is something that we have been facing quite a lot, as the other panelists has mentioned. We the numbers of um, elderly population has been growing rapidly for the past decades, which means it is a huge burden for healthcare system, which a lot of times the government alone cannot change. And that how health tech startup in Thailand came in. They offer a way to reduce costs, increase accessibility, or um, improve efficiency for those healthcare providers, both public and private sectors, which a lot of times, since Southeast Asia, most of the market have their own uniqueness, but we are still siblings who share a lot of similarity. So by bringing the success or insight that they know from Thailand, and then expand to across Southeast Asia, they are able to scale that quite rapidly with some localization.
Right. So building the track record in the place first, and then carrying the success to the different market. Yes. Thank you.
Can
Yes.
I ask question to Poom?
Definitely.
Please.
So even for non-Thai startups to work with Thai corporates, you think, is there something that they can think in particular? Is there any hint or advice?
Well, I think one of the pitfall, or I would say common mistake that global startup has been facing when entering Thailand and Southeast Asia, they just do desktop research. They don't actually understand the market, and not everything is online or can be answered by ChatGPT. But you actually need to talk to real people, the right stakeholders, which a lot of times they has been that their direction has been changing rapidly. So you need to keep up with the trend by connecting with the right stakeholders. But again, it's not easy to act for someone who's from the United States or Europe to actually talk to the right person. So a lot of times you need a local partners who actually can recommend you to the right guy. So for example, CX Ventures also have a sister company called Rise Excel, who is a corporate innovation powerhouse who actually work with a lot of corporate. So a lot of startup, including from many of them from Singapore, has been going through a lot of program and project with Rise Excel to actually connect with the right corporate partners in multiple sectors. So get a friend and then ask your friend to recommend you to the friend of them.
Whom can be our friends, right?
Yeah. Follow us on LinkedIn and then just speak us.
Poom will be going down the stage that side also later on, so you'll be able to catch him over there. Right. I think that's that's a kind of an extension of knowing your partner, knowing your market. It's also finding the right partner in the market that you can work with, and I think that's very important advice for all of us as well. Actually, in a very similar sense, for Kihoko, when you look at for Live and Nest, there are also offices in Singapore, Malaysia, and then what do you see that, and what advice will you give to startups expanding across the different countries, or is there any differences that they should be mindful of, when looking at these markets?
I guess I might be echoing some of the thing that Poon was already speaking as well. But when we first came to Singapore, which was back in 2010 to establish Lebanese Singapore, and we try to bring Japanese companies or startups to come into Singapore or even look at Southeast Asia, many of them said, oh, if I go to Singapore, I would know every market of Southeast Asia straight away, right? And then we tell them, no, 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 no. You do have to different parts of Southeast Asia because it's very different. And that's part of the reason why Lebanese didn't stop at Singapore, but we also established Lebanese Malaysia in 2013. And we ourselves, as a startup, starting a company in different places, realize it's very different business culture. And it also helps to hear from the local people and also non-business people too, like students from universities, and ask them what kind of things would they like to see in their countries. Because regardless of how much I would like to bring Lebanese Malaysia or Lebanese Singapore to the next level, they see a Japanese lady going blah, 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 blah. And then they might think like, but do you really want to do something? Or are you trying to just make money and try to sell something to us? So that part, I think, can be overcome if those trust relationship can be built up. But building those trust in different country is different, right? So I grew up in Thailand as well. I was there for a while. So building relationship with Thai people, building relationships with Malaysian people or Singaporean, very different. And since because I grew up outside, I'm having difficulty of trying to build relationship with Japanese people because I look Japanese, but maybe I carry myself differently. So for any of you are thinking of expanding to Japan, maybe we can have a discussion as well, and then we can try to figure out how we can build those kind of relationship.
If I may have a, no, I'm also curious, if you can share a bit of example, how different is it in terms of building trust, let's say in Thailand or Malaysia, or I choose any two markets, just so that we get a sense of the differences.
Cannot really pinpoint the thing, but I guess maybe I'll say it from different point of view. The common thing I found of building the relationship was by me having a close local person who would speak together with me.
Right.
So for when I was just going to different government agency in Malaysia by myself, who is traveling back and forth, it took long time. But soon as I had the first member who was a local Malaysian going together, I felt the difference. That the air changed. They were more welcoming. It was same area, but the way they were discussing sounded a little bit more deeper than before. But I didn't realize that when I was going alone because they were still very hospitable and nice and welcoming, but I could see those difference.
Indeed, right. And there will be 5 of us on the stage.
Most likely, I can
You'll be able
also
to-
top on
Please,
on that.
Kasim.
I think Kyoka have actually a very valid point. If you want to come into any of the country, especially in South Asia, speak to some of the government agency. If they endorse you as part of like helping you, eventually you can actually, it's like a ripple effect. The rest of the government agency in Malaysia will eventually come into helping you as well. So it's the starting point that you need to find one government agency that's willing to support you. Then
Right.
basically your door is open.
Thank you. And I think that leads a question to you, and I will have to post this to you because you are the only one from the government agency on the panel. So, so for the Malaysia government, there's been quite a lot of initiatives in trying to drive the innovation and startup ecosystem as well. So from a more government perspective, how can startups leverage these opportunities or these initiatives for the government in growing in Malaysia?
Sure. Finally, Malaysia turns. So let me do some brief introduction about my organization. I come from Meranti. It's actually a publicly operated science park. So we are located in the center of KL. If you know Bukit Jalil, we are there for the past 26 years. So we have about, I think we are blessed with some properties there. We have 14 buildings there. readily available for research and development collaborations. At the same time, in the park itself, we have two universities. One is the Asia Pacific University, looking into innovation and technology. So every year they actually train few thousands of the talent to be supplied into hiring. Another one is the International Medical University, so which is very into medtech. So they are also having students that every year graduating, supplying into the supply chain. So at another side of the park, we also have corporates that is located there. Some names like Astro, one of the privately run broadcast network is actually there. We have some satellite companies, telco is there as well. Some banks are there. So this is the ecosystem that the park is trying to create. We call ourselves a connector. We connect to universities. We are connected to outside of the park. I think most of the public or private universities is under our, not really care, but we are in communicating with them. At the same time, other government agencies and of course, startups, SMEs, and also corporates, we are also in talk with them. So the thing is, if you come to us, we will be able to connect you to the 5,000 SMEs and startups under our database. At the same time, as we are actually not working solo, I have my colleague here actually from the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MITI. So they are actually a ministry who is looking after MIDA as well as MATRADE. So these two other government agencies is looking into inbound and outbound activities of Malaysia. So with their networks of work coming to Meranti Park, we will have extended or wider network through the ministries, government agencies that we are connected. So I would suggest for startups that coming into Malaysia, look into getting Malaysia a pilot project location. We, Meranti, will be able to help you do some business matching, finding you a local potential partners to be working with. With that, most likely we can also identify a corporate to run a pilot site for you. Of course, funding, we can talk a little bit later. I think the next question most likely will be asking me about that. So,
Yeah, shall not put you in the spot over there. I know the funding has always been, a key area of interest, but the commercial plans will always have to come first. I don't think it makes sense to really go to a region just for the government funding. It has to make sense for the business.
yeah, so I think the funding part is chicken and egg situation lah. So if you can come to Malaysia, speaking to some of the corporates and secure some of the pilot projects LOI, letter of intent, chances is you can use this LOI to be presenting to VC like James to be asking for some funding, right? Because they are also looking into market expansion. And I think Singapore is definitely a location for you to raise fund or outside of the region, outside of Malaysia lah.
Yeah, thanks. Indeed, I think when we receive requests as sometimes also from startups, can you connect me with the investors, etc. Actually, the questions that many of them will receive back is, what's your business plans over here? I don't think you can request for investment just by having, thinking of doing something. So having really some concrete partnership with the industry partners first, that's a very good first step. Now, moving to you, James, last but not least. So in terms of, Vietnam market, you have shared about the retail space, but I think other than that, there's also rising digital technology, talents, the buildings in the market that we have seen. Some of the, it's also not uncommon to hear some Singapore startups when you're looking for talents overseas, and Vietnam is one of these markets. How do you think startups can leverage these benefits that Vietnam has? And for the Vietnamese startups, how can they look at using these as opportunities for collaborations as well?
Okay, so Singapore startups has always used a more affordable manpower in the region, especially in Indonesia or Vietnam, as a means to stretch their dollar further. So anyone receiving funding, whether it's VC funding, angel funding, is in your interest, especially if you're a startup, to stretch it further. And Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City especially, has emerged as a very viable hub for talent acquisition to fund your growth. As a case in point, many years ago, Grab, in its expansion, acquired companies, IT companies, software programming houses in Ho Chi Minh City, so that they can scale quickly. That is still happening at a smaller scale, where companies are going in directly to hire, and once you hire one person, as my fellow panelists has mentioned, once you hire one person, it just gets the ball rolling. You can hire many others very much faster. And also the first person that you hire walks into any local meetings with you, it immediately also brings a lot of familiarity and to the meeting itself that really lubricates the process much faster.
Right. And I think it brings up a point also that, we get questions sometimes. Singapore is a place where the cost of business is actually quite high. So actually leveraging talents, opportunities from around the regions, that's also one of the ways to kind of stretch your dollar. Would there be other pro tip in this case that, James may share about, either for regional partnership or scaling overseas that startups can make use of in growing in Southeast Asia?
Okay, so Kasin also mentioned this earlier. You tap into any government endorsement or funding that you can. And if you come to Singapore and you fulfill the conditions of the funding, by all means tap into it. I think ACE has a comprehensive database that can help to guide you through that process. But ultimately, you're not in Singapore. You want the Singapore market. Singapore market is I would say lucrative, but it is not sizable. You would have to quickly expand to the region. In the region, whether it is Malaysia or whether it is Thailand or Philippines or Vietnam or further afield like Japan, you have to prove that your product is not just a one country solution, but can scale across or replicate across Southeast Asia. So if you are able to prove that you are in Malaysia or able to prove that you're in Vietnam and so on, it's already a good validation point for you to raise the next round of funding. And then after that, who knows, you can even grow further.
Right. Thank you very much. So I think, yes, this is something that, for a lot of startups that's looking at the Singapore and then, considering the Southeast Asia market, it has to be looked at in totality.
Can I
not just in
add on
Singapore.
something?
Yeah, please.
So we just now with funding. So I just want to address the elephant in the room, right? Just now, Malaysia is available to offer you the pilot project opportunities and also talent that most likely from universities and around the ecosystem, as well as talking to the corporate. But funding is always an issue. But there are two routes actually you can get funding, right? The first one I've mentioned, investment VCs are very strong in Singapore. They are also looking into market expansion. If you are in the mood of fundraising, can come and talk to VCs in Singapore and raise some external funding into Malaysia for the market itself. But another form of it, we do have a specific G2G funds between Singapore and Malaysia. So this fund is actually governed and also managed by Enterprise Singapore and also our colleague here, MIDA, Malaysia International Investment Development Authority, so MIDA. They are actually looking into potential pilot projects or feasibility studies between the two countries' companies. So if you are Malaysian companies or if you are Singapore companies, you can actually work on this project. So you can come to Meranti Park. If you are a Singaporean company, we will help you to identify a local Malaysian partners. And then we also identify corporates for you to potentially propose certain pilot projects. And then eventually through this collaboration or project, you can apply to this funding that is offered by MIDA. So this is existingly available. You can come and speak to Meranti or also MIDA and also MITI on the audience seat. So that most likely, I hope, can give you some help on opening up the market across the border. But this is only limited to Malaysia and Singapore. Any government agency from around the world in the region hope to have similar arrangement. Feel free to come to us and we can have a coffee chat.
Right. I believe there's also a co-innovation program that Enterprise Singapore runs in supporting cross-border collaborations. We're in the final minute of the panel, so maybe just a parting shot. many advice were mentioned in this panel, but if you just have one quick one and one last one to give for our audience to remember, what would it be? James, please.
Hey, speed counts. Act now.
All right.
Singapore is actually very strong in private funding, and then Vietnam is definitely a big manufacturing and also digital hub. Thailand is tourism, and then Japan, I'm sure you are also very strong in robotics. So if that to make a closing, I think I wanted to say is that every country have their own strengths. For Malaysia, we sort of have similarity culture with Singapore, and we can speak multiple language, which look into Indonesia, China, and also India market, which actually cover 40% of the global population. So yeah, come to Malaysia, why not?
Thank you. Kihoko, please.
Okay. I think meeting the people and building trust is important. And for further discussion, please come to F05. That's where we are. That's to you.
Boom.
One last word to wrap up. So when you come to Southeast Asia or anywhere, always ask yourself what's in it for them. Like, put yourself in their shoes and then try to understand. And what I mean by them is also different for each of you. So try to also do a lot of research while make friends of them, talk to a lot of them, and then you will know the answer. Come talk to us. We also can give some hint.
Right. Thank you, Poom. And thanks, Kasim, for helping to summarize the discussion also. But as a moderator, I think the benefit of being a moderator is that I will have the final words. So thank you, my panelists. I think for Singapore, for startups that's looking to see how you can land here and also be connected with the different partners that Singapore, the ecosystem has to offer. The Stage 1 program is something that we have launched today, just this morning with a physical center. Do look up that. I'll be around here after the session as well. Southeast Asia market, very diverse, a lot of opportunities, but you need partners to help to unlock these opportunities. And all of us here today can be the partners. For ACE, we are also at the Singapore Innovation booth. Thank you, my panelists. Thank you, everyone, for joining us at this panel.
Thank you.
Big thank you to our panelists, Singta, for being the moderator. Can we do a group photo, please, ladies and gentlemen?